talk about step 4 of our system, right? We have a 5-part system. And the 5 steps are, number 1, get licensed or get appointed, right? Number 2, share it with your spouse. Number 3, become a product of the product, meaning own the plan. Take care of your family first. Number 4, build a list. And number 5, share it with 3 to 5 people, okay? So today's training is going to be geared to step number 4 of the system, prospecting and list building, okay? So I'm going to go through some slides with you here. This is still being recorded. I think the first thing is, you know, anytime we talk about sharing this with other people, building a list, you've got to develop a passion for our mission. I mean, folks, we are on a crusade. And I mean, you know, we don't say that as a punchline, I mean, a tagline. I mean, we truly believe that. You know, we are on a crusade. Al Carty is on a crusade. I can certainly speak for myself. And our leadership team is 100% committed to creating wealth for families, okay? There is a critical need for education delivered on a giant scale. I mean, we talk about this all the time. We talk to people day in and day out that do not understand living benefits and how they will bridge or fill that financial gaping hole that they have in their financial portfolio, in many cases the bridge between health insurance and life insurance, right? So your success for the most part will depend on how strong your passion is for our mission and how effectively you can get many other people to feel the same way. It's a mission that motivates, right? We also hear things like people follow leaders. Well, they do. If you're fired up and you know where you're going and you're passionate about what you're doing, people follow that because they say, look, I don't know what he or she is doing completely, but I know they're awfully excited about it and I got to find out how, okay? Posture and position, your attitude, it's key. Your attitude creates an edge. Now, that attitude comes from belief. See, the more you believe, the greater your attitude is, the more positive your attitude is, your attitude of success, winning. Again, that encourages people to want to be around you, right? You're not selling a product, you're changing lives, right? We're not selling, we're educating. People actually buy after we educate them, okay? Now, that's not a spin on words, folks. That's really true, okay? Because I'll tell you this here. If you're out there selling, it's a lot harder. If you're out there educating, it's a very simple business, okay? Know what we have and what we can do. So your attitude determines your altitude, right? We've all heard this. If you believe it can happen, it will happen. So be careful what you think about because it does come about. So let's start here. Let's run a diagnostic on your business, you know. And I know, look, we're all different stages, right? Some people are blowing and going right now. They got more activity than they know what to do with. Some people say, man, I got to get a little bit more done, right? I mean, this is never going to change. We're all in different places at different times. And sometimes I call it, excuse me, I got this little tick on my throat. Sometimes I call it a funk, right? Sometimes you get in a 12-hour or 24-hour funk. It's almost like a bug, right? After 24 hours, sometimes it's 48 hours, right? You just got to catch it, make sure it's not a forever bug. But you just don't feel like doing what you got to do, right? So you get a little frustrated. And see, what I do is I always run a diagnostic on the business, right? So your diagnostic should look like this here. Well, do you have a list? If you don't have a list, you're not creating activity, right? Look at how many people you put in front of their computer this past week. So if I said to you today, let's go back to last Sunday through yesterday, how many people did you call and say, are you in front of your computer? And how many of them watched the video? See, now let me help you. If the answer is none, there should be nothing to be frustrated about, right? Because you didn't do anything, so you shouldn't be frustrated. Frustration only happens typically when we're not getting the result we want. Well, you can't get results from something that hasn't started, right? So that's step number 1. You got to make sure that each week you have activity. And all you got to do is call 3 people a day. I mean, I had a great call yesterday with Sean to keep the new members with us. And you know, we had a strategy session. Well, what do we do the next 30 to 60 days? Well, here's what we do. Okay, we put a list together, and then we start calling 3 to 5 people a day and putting them in front of their computer. See, if you understand 3 people a day, 5 days a week, that's 15 people that are seeing the presentation, not just 15 people you're calling, you're showing the business to 15 people. Folks, you got to understand the law of averages and the law of probability. Over 60, 90, 180 days, you will have so much incredible activity that your life will change. Absolutely will happen because the message is that strong, okay? So you've all heard this. Being a contractor, you cannot construct a building without a large supply of raw materials. In our business, the material is prospects. So you have to have a list, and you should always be adding to your list. And what I want to do today is help you understand who's in your list, okay? When you develop a target market, you can divide the prospecting really into 3 areas. The first one is your natural market. These are people that you know, right? They're friends, they're neighbors, they're relatives, they're coworkers, they're social contacts. And now that includes quite a few people, needless to say, right? So when you think of friends, now look, not everybody has 50 best friends, okay? You may, friends can really be classified more as acquaintances, right? Or a little bit more than acquaintance. Best friends, maybe 1, 2, 3. Okay, neighbors. Well, there's only so many neighbors you have, and depending on your family size, there's only so many relatives you have. Co-workers, it depends where you work, right? I mean, you might work in a company that has 500 people. You may work in a company that it's you and 4 other people, okay? And then, of course, social contacts. We have a lot of social media contacts, and we encourage you to, participate in Facebook and LinkedIn and make friends. Don't try to recruit or sell. Make friends, right? Make acquaintance. Chat some people up. So your natural market is where you start. Then there's friendship farming. Turning strangers into friends to create a new natural market. In fact, I was having this discussion yesterday with Leo. What happens when a new person comes on board? Perhaps you didn't know them before. Well, over time, you start building rapport with them, and they become friends. So that's all a stranger really is a friend you haven't met yet, right? And then, of course, there's friendship borrowing, relationship marketing through our third-party referral system, okay? So creating the target market list, the top priority is the start of an exciting business, right? From this list, you'll build a business and transform the lives of people on it. If you believe that, and that's your posture, that's your attitude, right? So it starts with, and you've all gotten these lists, okay? But it's important that you sit down, preferably with your partner, significant other, and go through this memory jog. Now, folks, let me tell you something. This will help you think of people. I believe it is crucial for you to have the list of names in front of you or in a pad or in a notebook or something that you have in front of you, and you should actually keep a journal on the people you do speak to, right? I mean, we can be so efficient doing things online, but it is important to take notes, okay? So if you call Bill, take some notes, write down what the outcome was of Bill, and so forth. But see, this memory jogger has, 300 to 500 different categories. And I know these are hard to see, but, boss, I can't even read them myself. But you all have a copy of the memory jogger. If not, we'll make it available to you. If you can put at least one name next to each one, that's 300 to 500 names that you will have on a list. Now, of course, you're not going to know them all intimately or personally. They're not all going to be best friends. But look, how much does it take to say, hey, you know what? Hey, Brian, I know we haven't spoken in a while. How have you been? How's Alan doing? Great. Hey, listen, the reason why I called you is I came across some compelling information that I absolutely needed to share with you. Brian, are you in front of your computer? And then the rest goes from there. You see, it doesn't make a difference if you haven't talked to them in 4 months or 6 months. You're still sharing information with them that they're going to be happy to get, okay? Important keys. Make your list with others, right? So if you want to have fun to it, number one, you can do this with your leader or do it with another person or do it with your spouse when possible, because you know what? He or she knows people that you didn't think of or that you're perhaps eliminating, right? Because, see, if you look at number 2 here, add names, don't eliminate them. Resist the tendency to eliminate people from your list because you think they're too busy or make too much money. This is a major mistake. Remember, it's not just who you know, it's who they know also. And understand something. You don't know the timing in their life. You don't know where they're at at this stage of their life. Maybe from where you see everything looks fine. Maybe they've got in your opinion, they've got the job of their dreams or whatever, but you don't know what's behind the scenes, okay? That's why you have to share it with them and let them decide for themselves. Remember, you're not the message. You're just the messenger. All you're doing is saying, hey, listen, I came across some compelling information that I wanted to share with you. Are you in front of your computer? The rest will take care of itself. You don't have to figure it all out, okay? Using the jogger, the purpose is to jog your memory for every quality person you know. Now, of course, you also know who you don't want to share it with if you know somebody that is perhaps not the kind of person you'd want to be in business with. Well, you probably shouldn't share it with them, right? But what you want to do is you want to identify the top 25 on your list. So your list should really have a minimum of 100 names and grow to as many as 300, 500, or 1,000, and you can do that. And then you want to narrow it down, right? You want to target those top 25, people that you have rapport with, and that really is best done with your leader, okay? So if I'm working with you and you've put together a list of 100 people, let's identify who's on the list and who we should contact, all right? The chicken list. You've all heard this here, okay? Recruit up. Never fear successful people. Here's the one thing I can tell you, okay? Successful people are the nicest people you can talk to. They're open-minded. They'll listen. And even if they're not interested, they tell you nicely, okay? They don't criticize. They just make an informed decision based on information. Now, when you talk to people that, when you're recruiting down, people that perhaps don't have jobs, have never had success in their life, they seem to find all the reasons why your business won't work. But their track record is probably the same, right? And I'm not trying to stereotype people, but, you know, if you met somebody that's, 55 years old and has never really made any money, never had any real success in their lifetime, well, maybe the problem is the one that looks back at them in the mirror, right? Maybe it's not that opportunity hasn't come their way. Maybe they just haven't known how to take advantage of it. So when we talk about who you should talk to successful people. They know other people like themselves, and you never know. After all, Mark Victor Hansen, you all know who he is, wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, sold his company for $63 million back a couple of years ago. Why is he part of Freedom Equity Group? Because somebody talked to him and shared the business. Now, I have to be honest, that would be a tough one to put on my list too, but I think you get the message, right? Don't eliminate anybody. Don't judge people. You never know where someone will leave you. Leave no stone unturned, right? Master the three-way call. So if you're a little intimidated to talk to somebody, just introduce them to me or Brian or your leader and do a three-way call, okay? Friendship, turning strangers into friends. As you go about your day, always be on the lookout for people with whom to start a conversation. Cultivate a new warm market by meeting new people. Now, I use, and let me stop here for a second, I use the Columbo process. See, if I, for instance, let's say I happen to go, I'm having lunch with someone, and I see somebody there that I know. Well, I'm not going to go right up to them and talk. I may go up to them and say hello, but I'm not going to go right up to them and start a conversation, okay, first of all, because I'm there to have lunch. Second of all, because I don't want the next half hour to be an explanation. What I tend to do is on my way out, I'll stop by again and just say, hey, it was good seeing you. By the way, you have a business card on you. I'd like to give you a call about something. So on my way out, I get their business card. Now, when I get back to my office or my home, whatever, and I call them, what do I say? Hey, listen, hey, it was good to see you the other day at lunch. Listen, the reason why I called, I've got some compelling information to share with you. Are you in front of your computer? See, the same thing applies. Whether I meet him in a restaurant or I see him in an elevator, it doesn't make a difference. Now, so what I'm saying is those things happen as you go. You don't have to go out and look for it. They just happen, okay? How do you start conversations with people? The FOR method, right? Here's what they stand for, family, right? You might ask him or her, are they a family man? Do they have kids? Do they grow up here in town? Or what type of work do you do, right? Occupation. R stands for recreation. Perhaps you have a common recreational interests. So maybe you kind of, there's some conversation going on and you're looking out. Maybe you're someplace where looking out at a golf course. Hey, do you happen to play golf or whatever? Or if your kids are playing ball together, well, right? They have some interest there. And then M stands for message. Tell the prospect what you do to spark his interest. If you get to that point, you're not making presentations. You're just trying to get a name and a phone number if you have a method. So this is another method of meeting people. It's called the 4 method. It's been around forever, but it helps you remember, right? Family, occupation, recreation, and the message. So helps you stay grounded as to how to talk to people, okay? Friendship bound referral, our lead system. Look, what they are missing is number of qualified people to get in front of on a regular, consistent basis, because nobody has mastered the art of understanding that the purpose of build, and I don't mean you, I mean the industry, okay? You obviously know because you're part of our system. The industry works, they're trying to buy leads all the time, right? Because they've never mastered the art of, if I get a new associate on board, okay, because all roads lead to a prospect, right? I wanted to get to here, okay? Here's how it happens. When you're recruiting someone, well, they're putting a list together of 25 to 100 people. So if I'm working with, I'll use John Marino. If John Marino is a new associate working with Willie, what does John bring? John he knows 25 to 100 people. So that means my business also grew through John's efforts, right? So obviously I'm going to cultivate that list with John and go out there and perhaps develop 3, 4, 5 more new associates. And what do they bring with them? Another potentially 500 names, right? So you see how the list of names just keeps perpetually growing, and that's what recruiting is really for. Of course, some of those recruits become big-time producers and leaders in our business. Some of them become part-time agents, and some of them may end up being just paid referral agents, and that's fine too. See, a paid referral agent is what? A happy client with a license, someone that understands what we do, believes in what we do, owns the product, and now gets a license, and therefore there's another opportunity for referrals for you to build your business with. And the last one is referrals, someone that is strictly a client. Perhaps they don't want to become a paid referral agent at all, but they'll refer you to 3 to 5 other people. Then, of course, there's networking online and offline in the normal course of the day. So there are lots of ways to meet people, folks, and there's lots of ways to talk to people. And all you really have to recognize is once you get your business started, it'll start to take a life of its own. It will continue to grow, especially when you're building a team, right? As you're sharing this with people, teammates are joining you, therefore lists are growing, and you're having more and more people to talk to on a regular basis. So if I was really looking for more activity and I had a small team and I maybe didn't have a lot of activity myself, I would be working with my team to help them build for them, which ultimately does it for you as well, okay? So the last thing I'll wrap up with here is, are you in front of your computer? And Brian put this up here, and, we had a little chuckle on this one, but let's put it, he calls it the Al Carty School of Marketing. And pick up the phone, folks. Let me tell you something. So many people today are still enamored with email. Well, I emailed him, or I emailed her. It doesn't work, folks, okay? If people get emails like I get emails, I've got to really go through them carefully, and of course, if they're people in my business, I respond to them. Some of them that I don't even know who they are, it's some kind of solicitation or whatever, they just go into my spam, or they get deleted, or I never read them. And some of them may have been good, but I just don't read them because there's only so much time in a day, and you got to realize that there's a lot of people in the same fashion. However, a phone call, somebody leaves me a message if I'm on the phone, or I answer the phone, I listen. Why? Because I'm on the phone, all right? And I'll at least hear what they have to say. So my suggestion to you folks is pick up the phone. If you think about our system, we've simplified it, right? We've simplified it to, if you would just commit to making 3 calls a day, are you in front of your computer, and taking 3 people per day and putting them in front of the information, not just telling them to do it, getting them there. Are you in front of your computer? Now, I'm going to steal a quick line here from Jacob Bell. Jacob Bell will call somebody, and he'll say, hey, listen, I need to speak with you when you have about 30 minutes. And they'll say, yeah, okay, call me at 5 o'clock. And when he calls them at 5 o'clock, you know what he does? He says, you in front of your computer? And now they've already said they had 30 minutes, right? So now they can watch the video. Pretty smart, right? Jacob Bell, he's a smart cookie. But anyway, I think you understand what I'm saying here, folks. Keep the business simple. Keep it fun. Understand when you create activity, I promise you this is what's going to happen. When you contact someone, and in the past it was business presentation, in reality now it's, are you in front of your computer, have them watch the video. That is the same thing, right? That creates, everything leads to the prospect list, right? But that product presentation, well, guess what? In that video, they're hearing about the product. So when you call somebody back or they call you back and you say, what did you like best? They're going to tell you what direction they're in. They're going to say, well, I really like that product. I never heard anything like that before, and I don't own it. Or they're going to say, I could really use some extra money. I'd like to hear more about that. So the first person was obviously interested in becoming more of a client because they learned something there that was important to them, or that hit a nerve. The second person is someone who is opportunity-minded, and that's how you can gear your presentation going forward, okay?